Good morning. So I am spending most of the morning. I mean, it's now what, 11 o'clock? It's almost noon hour. And I have been listening to music nonstop. And I mean, music from like the 60s, the 50s, the 60s. Now, I wasn't alive in the 50s, but those music, the song from the 50s, my brothers and my sister played that, and my mom played it religiously. So I know a lot of the old songs from the 50s and well, of course, the 60s. I was born then. So I know it's a really nice feeling to kind of go back in time to feel nostalgic. And I think this is based on the fact that I ran into someone that I knew from the past. And I was kind of thinking about it, and I was thinking about, back in the day. I mean, I was 13, 14. So I'm wondering, if I had actually stuck around and maybe dated this fella and if things would have been different in my life. But the good Lord sends us the trials and tribulations and the people and the situations and the circumstances and the marriages, the divorce, and whatever happens is given to us from the divine. I believe, this is my belief, I'm not a religious holy roller, but I do believe that we are given life lessons to learn. And I'm hoping that I learned my life lessons. So, I mean, maybe there's a few more because I'm still alive. And I think once you learn all the lessons you need to learn on this earth, you might cross back over to the great divide. So, I don't know. Do I have any more lessons to learn? But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, the people. I mean, the people in my life and the relationships that I've had. And I mean, I'm still friends with a lot of my exes, except for one. And I don't even want to mention that one because that was like a big mistake. But even all my marriages, I mean, they were meant to be in my life for the period of time that they were. And I learned lessons from them. I learned how to believe myself, to find strength in myself, to, I don't need someone to feed my ego. I don't need someone to say, oh, you're smart or you're intelligent or you're pretty, because you know what, my whole life, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I depended on myself for self gratification, and not in that way. Okay, not in that way, but I mean, if you have to, you have to, right? But like, so I depended on myself to say, you're strong enough to do this. You can do this. I mean, think about it. At the age of 16, I hitchhiked to a local town. I signed up in the military. And I went. I went when I had just turned 17. My first time that, well, I mean, I worked away from home when I was 16, but um, it was my first time really being isolated from anyone. I mean, I was across the country, and I live in Canada, so I was across the country. And I was a young woman with all these big ideals, and I thought, I finally was able to make something of my life. And and I stayed in for a long period of time. I was in for a number of years, and I was proud of myself. I mean, making it through boot camp, look, trust me, making it through boot camp, that's an achievement. And back in those days, there was a thing called Heartbreak Hill. I'll tell you. And making it through that was an achievement. So, I'm looking back at the past, and I'm looking back at all the things I did in my life. And yeah, sure, I get nostalgic. And I even think I shed a tear or two when I was thinking about some early relationships that I had been in. When I was a young woman, I was so enamored. Okay, I don't even really know what love is, but enamored, right, by this one fella. And I got engaged at an early age, but kind of shook that off, and I left to make a life for myself, right, and left that small town vibe. And I think I made the right choice. I look back at it and I think I would love to be friends with that person. I mean, I certainly would be if given the opportunity. I would be friends, but only friends. I don't think that being enamored by someone has longevity. Yeah, I don't think so. And this person and I, we spent a lot of time together, and I ended up becoming engaged, like I said, at a very early age. And I kind of, was thinking about it, and I was thinking, like, I don't want to be married and pregnant right now. I want to live my life. I've been sequestered a lot in my life as a child and, and up into high school and stuff. And I thought, no, I want to spread my wings. I want to try something new. And so I did. And I'm very pleased with how things turned out. However, I made some choices along the way that kind of messed things up. But don't we all? Like, can you honestly look in the mirror and say that you made all the right choices in your life? No, we all make some mistakes. Trust me on that one. So there were some choices that I made that, weren't the greatest and kind of messed up my plan for the future. But I have beautiful children that came out of a relationship in my life. I have wonderful memories of old friends. I mean, I ran into an old friend the other day, as I was saying, and, you know, even just speaking with this individual, it's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. It's not as scary, intimidated, kind of like I got to put the past in the past. It's a good feeling. It brings back good memories of high school dances and listening to the band as a teenager and even some of the dances we did, like seriously. So yeah, it brings back a lot of good memories, and for that I'm grateful. And I'm grateful at my age, in my 60s, that I can remember those things. I have a lot of friends who are dealing with dementias, and they're dealing with Alzheimer's, and they're dealing with health issues. And I'm lucky. I'm lucky that the good Lord blessed me enough to keep me healthy enough to live this long in my life. And I hope for a little bit longer. Well, maybe a lot longer. But, ever since I ran into a specific individual the other day, and I made a video about it, I have been listening nonstop to the 1950s and 60s music. Now, this person triggered in me a need for that nostalgia because I was going through a period of depression. I was going through a period of loneliness. And, the good Lord, looked down on me and said, hey, whoa, like you're feeling a little depressed. Let's give you some good. Let's give you some hope. And I think that's what happened because now I feel better. I feel, no, my life wasn't wasted. My life wasn't wasted. I had a lot of wonderful moments in my life. I met a lot of wonderful people here, there, and everywhere. Okay. And because I'm ex-military, I did travel. I traveled a lot. And I met a lot of wonderful people in my travels. And so, that nostalgia came back based on running into someone that I hadn't seen for years because at this point in time, I'm isolated. I'm isolated from family and friends. I have acquaintances, but there's nobody around me that is truly a friend that knows me from my youth. No one, no one. I'm totally isolated, total different area, scenario, abode. I mean, everything is different, and I am isolated. So this is kind of like a little, I don't know, would you consider it a warning? Would you consider it kind of like a bit of a tip, right? Keep, it's nice to spread your wings, but it's always good to have a place where you feel rooted. And that is where I have a problem. I don't feel rooted. My whole life, I moved around my whole life. Through my whole career, raising my children as a single mother, I moved around. I moved around to find the best jobs, the best schools, the best sports educations, the best opportunities for my children. And so I didn't have that stability. And I never really, I think the longest period of time I ever really sunk my roots in anywhere was about 6 years, and that was during the time that I raised my children. And to me, I mean, it's not my hometown, but to me, it feels like the only solid base that I can say that I ever rooted. Okay? And we all of us need to ground at some point in time in our life. We need to go back to where we were, to know where we're going and where we want to be. And so I'm just encouraging all of you, keep one foot on solid ground while you're soaring the skies, okay? Keep one foot where you have stability and security and you have a sense of belonging, okay? That's grounding. Touching the earth, feeling at one with the earth, but also having a support system or a network around you that will be there in a crunch. Okay, because a lot of the times, if you feel isolated, if you feel lost in this world, it's a big world, and there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of things that can happen. So it's nice to have almost like a safety net. Yeah. So if you're going to climb to the highest height, okay, always make sure that you have some place that you can call home. I had someone say to me, actually, I'll tell you straight, it was my daughter that said to me that home is inside you. And yes, I do. I do believe that. I believe that home is inside you, that you can find your solace, your peace, your stability inside you. But you know what? Physically, not psychologically, physically, you need to touch the earth. You need to feel grounded. You need to feel a part of something. And to me, my ideology tells me that I need to go where I feel like I'm part of something, where I feel like I belong, right? And so that's one of the reasons that I've been looking to move back to the country, because I'm not a city girl. I'm not into this highfalutin buildings and these beautiful, like, sure, everybody loves to have, the good things in life, but I don't need them. I've been there. I've had them. Trust me, I've had them. I've traveled. I've had riches. I've had many cars. I've had well-to-do dates, okay, that took me to see many wonderful things, but I don't need it. I don't need lots of money. Hell, sure, why not? There's a lottery coming up that's 50 million, and I'll tell you, if I won it, I'd be happy. And there'd be a lot of people that I loved in my life that would also be happy if I won that money. But I don't need a big fancy house. I don't even want one. Think about it. I'm in my 60s. Early 60s, but I'm in my 60s. So if I won that kind of money, do you think the first thing I would do would be to buy a big fancy mansion? Hell no. God, all I keep thinking is, that would be kind of scary, wouldn't it, to live in almost like a castle where you have all these rooms that you don't really utilize anyway. To me, this is my perfect ideal, okay? It's a cabin, an open concept cabin with, of course, walls around the bedroom, right? But an open concept, so I can see from one end of the house to the other. That's my dream. I can see the kitchen. I can cook. I can entertain. I can have that sense of, what would you call it, belonging, where I feel at home. Okay, I feel at home. I can cook in the kitchen, and I can talk to my friends in the living room, or my kids or my grandkids, right? I like that connection. So I don't need this big fancy house with all these rooms, a tier in every room, right? You remember that old song? No, I don't need that mansion. I don't want it. It would be a pain in the butt to clean. Think about it. And it would be expensive, the taxes. However, I would prefer, as I said, a little A-frame cabin, okay, with a loft. Yeah, I don't really want the loft, but maybe the grandkids would. But yeah, a small A-frame cabin with an open concept. That's my dream. And a garden. Oh, I pray for a garden every night when I go to bed. I pray for the tiny home or the cabin and a garden. I pray for it. I'm going to manifest it somehow. Me and the big guy, we've been having some talks. So, yeah, so home-wise, that's the first thing I'd buy. Do I need a big, fancy Rolls Royce? Rolls Royce? No, you know what kind of car I want? My last car was a Honda Coupe. It was a sports car, tinted windows, the whole bit. And there was someone that I knew in my life who was a little bit jealous of me, and they put Coke in my carburetor, or however, engine or whatever, and they destroyed the car. So I ended up having to sell the car to someone who knew what they were doing. But you know what? I didn't care. I don't care. He's chalking up for experience, And karma, what goes around comes around. Karma's going to come back and shit on that person's doorstep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was even a period of time, this is how karma works. There was a period of time where I was homeless and I was living in that Honda Coupe. Seriously. Yeah. And there was someone who laughed at that. They thought that was funny. And you know what? As I said, karma comes right back around. And I'm not going to reiterate on somebody else's hardship in their life. Only on my own. Only on my own. Okay. So I'm perfectly content with car wise. I would get a little Herbie bug. Do you remember the old bugs? Well, my brother had one when he came back from the Navy. It was a red Volkswagen Beetle. And I loved that car. And I still do. Every time I go to a car lot and they have, like, there was one that had this hazy kind of grayish blue Volkswagen, right? Just like that Herbie bug. And I think it's the new type of Volkswagen bug or Beetle, whatever they call them. Anyway, so I want that. That's what I want. That's the exact car that I want. So I don't need anything fancy. I don't want to jump in a plane and jet off to Miami, although I'd like to see Italy. I don't know why, I just would. So that's one of my dreams, is to go to Italy. You know, we all make a bucket list, right? So I've got a pretty big bucket list, but I'm content with the way my life is right now. I'm just lonely. And so connecting with people from the past or connecting with family members or a support system feels right. It feels good. And it's beneficial to my mental health. I was finding that I was forgetting things so easy at the drop of a hat. And I truly, truly, truly believe that, yeah, you will eventually get dementia or Alzheimer's if you don't keep that connection, that grounding, that security, that support in place. If you don't keep your connection solid, okay, yeah, you're going to lose that spark. You're going to lose those memories. I don't want to lose them. So I've been listening nonstop to old-time music, and I dance to it, and I sing to it. I'm sure my neighbors hate me because I've been on the patio, and I've been listening to, oh my goodness, the Eagles and things like that, and I've been singing the songs because I remember them, right? And they trigger memories of good things, fun things that we did when I was a young woman growing up, when I was like 13, 14, 15, all the way up, right? I mean, I left when I was 17. I went to the military. My mom signed the papers. I went to the military. So my youth ended for me at 17, because when you sign up in the military, if you're willing to give your life for your country, they allowed you to drink. They allowed you to smoke. They allowed you to whatever, you know? So my youth, my innocence, I wouldn't say innocence. It was almost like I went from being a young teenager into being an adult in that plane ride. Yeah. And I have to, this is one little memory I have to put out there because I was thinking about it today. When I went to the military and I was 17, so my ex-fiance drove me to the airport. My brother took me out for supper. I had my first taste of alcohol. Well, they think my first taste of alcohol. Anyway, so he bought me, I think it's called a Black Russian. Yeah. And it was horrible, horrible. So I had a sip of it that night. But that was my first drink. And my brother allowed me to do that under his guise, right? He kept a tight rein on things. So my fiance took me to the airport. I got on the plane. But when I got on the plane, I was a lot smaller then. I was like 95 pounds, 100 pounds, right? So I was really, really tiny. And I had this beautiful summer dress on. It had a top and a little skirt. And I had this pair back in the days, I think they were called platforms. And they had a string that you would tie up around the calf of the leg right up to the knee. To the knee. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, I wore them. I took nothing else. They took nothing else. They said to go lightly, so I did. That's all. What I was wearing is what I had. So I got off the plane in Nova Scotia, where it was, basic training was in Cornwall. So I got off the plane. They picked us up, and I'm dressed in this outfit. Nobody else is, but I am. I thought, you got dolled up to go to things like this. I mean, think about it, right? So they picked us up, and we had to get our clothes, like our combat clothes and our boots and all the stuff that we would wear. And we had to surrender our civilian clothes for the first 5 weeks. Now think about this. They gave us underwear, No, actually, no, 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 no. That's not true. We kept our underwear and our bras, the females. I don't know what the guys, but the females. So, and they took everything else, right down to the socks, the shoes, everything, right? I was so glad that this was happening, okay? Because I'll tell you, those shoes were the most uncomfortable shoes I've ever worn. I have no idea why I wore them there. Anyhow, I had to wear them until they, what's the word? I can't think. They gave us. We had to sign for our clothes. So I wore these shoes until they gave us our clothes. And they gave us a big duffel bag. Yeah, and I mean, the duffel bag was massive, and I was a little person at that time. I was a little tiny person, not like I am now, right? So I remember having to carry that duffel bag in those, I think they're called platform shoes. They're even taller than platform. They're wedges. They were wedges. Yeah. So I had to carry that duffel bag with those shoes and that dress on all the way to the bus and then get off the bus and go to the barracks and carry that. Nobody carried it for you. Yeah. You didn't have somebody say, oh, here, let me carry that for you, lady. No, no, no. It was like they were training you to become a woman, a strong woman. And that's what I became. Yeah, I'm telling you. Through the years, I mean, I could lift, I could load a 5 ton full of jerry cans filled to the brim, okay, by myself. Yeah. So I was pretty muscular. I would swim a mile and a half. I was like, I became a woman. And I feel like I became a woman almost overnight after that plane ride. I'll tell you, things change. Your outlook changes. Everything changes. So feeling nostalgic about my childhood and about people I knew in my childhood and the things we did. And, I mean, there's a lot of stories that I could reiterate on, and someday I might, but today it's all about the music. So if you have an elderly parent who's living in a long-term care or even a retirement home, okay, get them used to listening to music. And music, not the head banging, pants to your knees type of music, okay, with all the sexual connotations. I'm talking about music that told a story, because that, from my generation, that is what's going to keep our mind ticking. It's going to bring back some of those memories. And, it doesn't hurt to have pictures of the people they knew in their life around them. Yeah. If you want to make the person that you love, the elderly person that you love, if you want to make their last days happy, spend some time not only connecting verbally, okay, but pictures and music. Music is so important. To walk into an elderly person's, and I worked in the field. I worked in long-term care for many years. And there was a lot of people that had no contact with their family. They were left isolated until their dying days. And the only family they had were the nurses or the caretakers that were there. I don't choose to live like that. I'm not going to live like that. No, 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 no. I swear I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that when I go, I know I'm going. Okay? I'm not going to have regrets. I don't want to pass from this world in a feeling that I didn't matter and that no one cared. Right? So, yeah, I've been really nostalgic and I'm loving it. It's enjoyable. As you notice, I'm sitting on the floor. I was doing yoga. I was meditating to the music. Tennessee whiskey, Hang On Sloopy. Look at this one. Best oldies rock and roll 50s and 60s. You see that? Yeah. So, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the nostalgia, and I'm so happy that I decided to connect with someone from my past. I'm so happy. It makes me feel so good. I feel so, what would you say, balanced. I feel balanced now. I feel like, I know where I've been. I know where I've been. And I don't mind thinking about it. The past it isn't all bad. I mean, there was a few rough spots, but the past isn't all that bad. And it doesn't hurt to remember those good times. So remember that if you have a an elderly parent that's soon to, cross over that big divide, make sure that you make the last moments of their journey on this earth happy and fulfilled, content, and balanced. So I'll see you on the next video. The good Lord be willing. Bye-bye.